We call you Bill or we call him William?
You call me Bill.
Okay.
I'll try.
Good evening, guys. My voice is a little pinched tonight for some reason, but nice to see you have 13 participants so far. I'm Doug, WNLCQ. I'm the Secretary Treasurer of TDXS, and welcome to the May meeting. Let me bring up a share screen here. There it is. Quick agenda. Just announced we have our three latest new members. Bill Schmidt is one of them. He joined last month.
Oh.
Philippe Bouchemont, K5BOU joined this month. Brad Pioveson, W9FX from Far, Texas. You know where Far is?
Far away.
Far away.
Far away. Yeah.
Yeah, near Mexico.
I got
Yeah.
it first.
Yeah, he's actually outside of our operating area, except for the fact that he's in South Texas. So his score counts.
Does he have a contest station or is he just a good operator?
I think he's just a good operator. Yeah, he seems to have pretty good credentials.
Okay.
Well, welcome all. Welcome all. It brings our active membership up to 46 now. We're current on dues. Before we get into the program, I want to turn it over to Al to talk about Field Day 2022, which is coming up in just a month. Take it away, Al.
Okay. I guess I'm the de facto field day chairman for TDXS.
Congratulations.
All right. I guess I'll put that in the next newsletter, right?
You get a raise too.
I really do want to double my salary for this. Okay. So, but really, I am working with Anthony W5LIC, who is, I guess, the overall field day chairman, who works for he's a BVARC chairman, BVARC field day chairman. So we're going to have once again a big field day. So it's going to be TDXS, BVARC, cars, maybe a fourth club. They're still in negotiations, with the fourth club. So it could be 4 clubs again for field day. Echo is bowing out. They're going to do it themselves at the Red Cross Center. We already have antennas and things lined up from Bill Cordell, who also lives very close to me, like 2,000 feet from me. And by the way, he's got a DB42 on a 100-foot tower. And but I never hear him on the air. What a waste. So he's going to be supplying 2 lifts, a 70-foot lift and a shorter lift. Those are going to be our antenna mounts. There's also going to be another antenna for another support, which is on a trailer, I think, for the 3rd antenna. We'll have 3 tri-banders and I think 2 40-meter 2-element beams. We're going to go for 10A again. Bill, you're welcome to join us if you're available on field day weekend. We're looking for operators. The operator sign-up sheet will go live tomorrow morning. It's a Google Sheets, just like what we used to do a couple of years ago before COVID. It's live. You just click on the link, you put in the slots. There's a couple of rules. The biggest rule is that you can only do 2 slots in a row of any single band mode. You can always go to another band mode if you want, and then come back. The reason for this is we want to, allow everyone to have a chance to operate, which, I realize that in some cases could reduce our potential score, but we have to make it accessible to everybody. So whether you're a top operator or a budding operator or something in the middle, we have to allow everyone to operate. So
We're gonna have the 10 K3s again.
we're looking for more K3s. Right now I have 5 K3s lined up. So I'm looking for at least 5 or 6 more K3s. Anybody who, I haven't contacted everyone from the last couple of years, but anybody who has a K3 or K3S, we like to keep all the radios the same. Glenn's going to do computers again. He's going to network all the K3s. So everything's all going to be set up and working together. So we'll have K3s for sideband, for CW, and for data modes.
We got good band filters.
We will have all the band filters for every antenna. We have all the bandpass filters. Yep, got all that stuff. And so we're looking for CW operators, sideband operators, and I guess
Digital.
FD8 RIDI operators too. All that stuff will be set up. All the macros, everything will be set up we'll be running N1MM plus software. And so I'll also be supplying the generator, one portable air conditioner. This is going to be at Duhachik. Am I pronouncing it right? Park in Sugarland.
Duhachik, yeah.
Duhachik Park in Sugarland, Texas. It's on a 50-acre lot. We will space the antennas as far apart as we can and position them properly so they will not interfere with each other. So it'll be kind of hopefully in a line like this, so that they'll all, depending on the band conditions, they can kind of turn like that and not look at each other, or even like this kind of thing. So try to reduce interstation interference. And we've been pretty successful at that. We've been pretty successful at that in the past. Occasionally we do have a little interstation interference, and we try to rectify it. The air conditioning in that house does not keep up. So Bill will be providing a window unit and insulation for the CW room, which will be the coldest room in the house. And we'll run the house air conditioner. And I have a portable air conditioner, and I may bring another window unit. I've got one that I bought. It's been in the box for 15 years. I've never even opened the box. So I guess I ought to bring it to see if it works. Hopefully there's enough power to run everything. So all the radios obviously will be on generator power. Everything else would be on commercial power. The link will be published tomorrow morning, first thing, on the BVARC reflector, TDXS reflector. I think Cars has a reflector now. And it's a simple link. Like I say, you just click on it, find the band mode that you want to operate, put 2 in a row, click some others. We're also looking not only for people to operate, but we're also looking for people to mentor other operators. So I know K5GN is big on that. I'm going to have to try to talk him into lots of slots because he's the best CW operator around here. But he will be there 24/7, or he'll be there for the full day. And I've got a few others that I've talked to trying to get KE8G and K5AX and K5GQ maybe. Bill, I don't know. Do you operate lots of CW? What is your favorite mode?
CW.
Okay. Well, come on, sign up.
Yeah.
And so the bands ought to be great with the current solar conditions, getting better and better all the time. I don't know, maybe Mike can do a prediction on what it's going to be on field day weekend.
It'll be a record solar flux field day.
So it'll be over 200?
No, it won't be over 200. It'd be 165.
Well, I can live with 165.
That's the highest field day we've had in 5 years.
Yeah.
Have they done any survey yet for noise?
Not that I'm aware of.
Al, who submitted the scores last couple of years?
Well, last year BVARC did go out there and had a small effort. And other than that, most people just did individual scores, 1D from home and things like that.
What was it, last year or the year before that we were? I've been trying to keep track of the records and stuff like that, but was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago we came up in the top 5?
We've been in the top 5
once.
No, I think more than once. Or maybe not. At least we've been in the top 10 4, 5, 6 times. So
I can't remember what the record is, but
yeah.
Okay.
So
we also own, what is it, 3 field day records that are not in 10A. We used to own the 3A record. We own the 4A record, And I don't remember if we still own it or not. I haven't kept track of it in the last couple of years, but we have done quite well.
Well,
Yeah.
the key is to get all the bands and all the modes, even, 2 meters, 432, all of
Yep.
that.
Yeah, nobody's talked about 6. Is it going to be a 6-meter antenna this year?
I think we had a 6-meter antenna up. It's just whether or not we have a 6-meter operator.
Oh, yeah.
There
Just
will,
needs somebody to slide over and make one contact.
well, who knows, 6 meters. Of course, we haven't seen any big openings in 6 yet, but who knows what could
Yeah.
happen, right? I mean, I've seen it where it's been dead and all of a sudden you make 500 contacts,
Right.
So who knows what could happen with 6 meters. I don't think I have anything else to say about field day right now, but the more the merrier. We want to try to do another record score. We haven't done it in big time for the last 2 years or 3 years or whatever since COVID, but all the infrastructure is still there. All the people are still there who have done the legwork and the setup. So I think that we can jump right back into it. Any questions from anybody? Okay.
Does my score count? What's the league's rule this year for home stations counting for field day? Has anybody read?
Does your score count for TDXS? Is that what you're asking?
Last year it did. I submitted it for TDXS last year.
I don't believe that they made any rule changes from
No, I don't
last
think
year
they
to
did
this year.
either. I think they keep the same ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember how many I had, 300 or 400 points, but it helps.
Yep. So that's where it's at. I think there's probably going to be hopefully at least one or two field day coordination meetings before. I think there actually was one yesterday, but I was traveling all day yesterday and I could not attend. I had to fly to New York, give a presentation, and fly home the same day. And so I left at 5 o'clock yesterday morning and I got home at 2 o'clock this morning because my
Wow.
flight was delayed. So I had a 21-hour day.
Wow.
So, and my boss said, "Oh, you're doing so good at presentations. We're going to start flying you all over the country." Okay. Guess I'll rack up those miles.
I was gonna say, just rack up those miles.
Yep, exactly. So that's where we're at right now. Anybody who wants to join in, feel free to come. Bill, we'd love to have you. Kim, we'd love to have you. I don't know if you're planning on doing something different again this year.
Got to look
We
at my schedule.
just now put out the notice to all of the guys in our group. And I've already gotten 2 declines, so we may be thin on operators. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Well, you're welcome to join us.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
So,
I know. We just got this group of guys that's always
I know.
done it.
Yeah, I understand that. So anyone else who's here, everybody, Nizar is going to be there, I believe. And so Nizar's getting to be a pretty good op. Doug, I don't know about Dan. Dan's got a K4. Maybe he'll bring us K4. Hint, hint. Dan Villalanti there. So anyhow, y'all are welcome. Any other questions? Just, let me know, and there'll be more updates hopefully on the website. And also Scott, I need to get you the link for the sign up sheet so you can put it on the website.
Good.
So
Yeah.
I'll send that to you.
Thanks.
That's it. That's all I got to
Okay,
say.
well, on that note, let's turn it over to our program. Bill Schmidt, K9 Hotel Zulu, to discuss these J68 Hotel Zulu Dream Contest Station. That's it,
Okay.
Lucia.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, how many of you have worked me down there? Yeah. Okay, good.
Many times.
Glad to hear that. While I'm getting set up here, let's see if I can do this. I'll tell you that my wife would tell you, don't ever give Bill a microphone.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, because for two reasons. One, he loves to hear himself talk, and number two, you'll never get the microphone
I've only worked you 28 times,
back.
Bill. So
Can you see the slides?
yep.
Yes. Yep.
Great. Okay, so this, I'm going to talk about putting the J68 8Z contest station together. And this is all based on the cover article from the January, February 2021 NCJ. You know, I don't have a word in here in this presentation about myself, and I guess I had to say something about myself first, a little bit of background. You know, I grew up in rural area of Minneapolis, Minnesota, out in farmland, and got interested in amateur radio when I was in high school. Okay, and that was in the late 60s, early 70s. I got my novice ticket before I could drive. So I think I must have been 14 or 15 then. I don't remember exactly when I got my license. Somebody can go out under ILS and check that out. My novice call was WN0 Delta Radio Hotel. And I had it for, I think maybe 9 months, and then got my general and advanced. And then went off to college, okay? And all my other friends in ham radio got their extras, and they went on and built their big stations. But I was on a different path. I went to college. I went to the University of Minnesota, engineering and mathematics. My first degree was in applied math, and did a degree in chemical engineering. And then I went to graduate school. Worked for Honeywell Defense Division up there for a while, programming maps for Tomahawk missiles. This is back when they used sighting maps instead of GPS. And they did that because I was a mathematician. They put me to work building maps and algorithms for mapping. Then I went back to graduate school. I went to the University of Notre Dame, and I got a PhD in chemical engineering and a PhD in electrical engineering. And then went out into the world and worked, and I spent first 5, it was more than that. I spent 5 years at Shell Research Center over here on Highway 6 in Houston here, and then took a field assignment at the Wood River Refinery up in St. Louis. And I don't know, I was there for probably 12 years. While I was there, we switched names to Equilon. They sold the refinery to Tosco. Phillips 66 bought Tosco. Phillips 66 then merged with Conoco, form ConocoPhillips. So during all of that time, I had the same office, and the name of the company changed 4 times. Then I took my wife took a marketing job down in Houston. So I was up in St. Louis for probably a little over a year, sold the house up there. In the meantime, we had bought a farm up there, and I'll get to that farm here in a little while. I want to talk a little bit about that too, but then we came to Houston for that would be the second time. So we've been here since 2012, and retired 4 years ago from ConocoPhillips. And I started an engineering company and a consulting company, an engineering consulting company. And so now in retirement, I actually work probably more than I was with ConocoPhillips, and I'm kind of trying to back out of it a little bit. I'd love to sell my company to somebody and spend more time, in contesting and doing ham radio projects. Got a lot of projects on the back burner that I'd love to work on. let's see. So ham radio. Yeah, I got back into ham radio then about the time that we had moved to St. Louis. And while we were there, I put up a vertical in our backyard because we lived on a golf course. You couldn't have any antennas at all. So I put up a vertical, essentially a flagpole. I wire tied a flag at the top of this vertical antenna. And so that was the sum of my antennas for a while. And I got real tired of that real quick. I worked with some of my buddies. Luckily, I had an access to a contest station. A guy that I worked with owned the contest station. So I did a lot of contesting there. It's K9SD. And finally, the bug got me, and we bought a farm up in just north of St. Louis. It's about 160 acres. And I started putting antennas up there. So started building a contest station. We got it partially built out. It's got a 4 square on 160, 4 square on 80, and it's got enough antennas that are just not up for, you know, big vertical array and a 3-stack on 40 meters, and that's about as far as we've gotten on that station. We use it a lot for a field day. When all of my buddies want to get together in that part of the country. But other than that, it kind of sits idle, and it's a shame, you know, not being close enough where I can do that. Anyway, so getting back to, you know, J68HZ. So, you know, my wife and I, oh, by the way, this is the NCJ article. If you haven't seen that, January, February of 2021. The photo down here is of the villa that the station is in. Of course, that's the, you know, discussion of the dream station. Here's the agenda of the talk. I'll talk about each of these in turn. I think maybe we get to the end of each of these sections, and then maybe I'll stop and try and take some questions, because I know you'll look at some of this stuff and you'll say, well, why did he do that? You know, for the agenda, I'll talk about why we built the contest station in the first place, and selecting a location, of course. That's really the most important thing, is selecting the right location. Building the station out in such an odd place in the Caribbean where everything has to be shipped in, and you know, the machinery is hard to find, and cement has to be mixed by hand and all that. Talk about selecting the equipment. There's a lot of special things that go into selecting equipment in a contest station, especially in the Caribbean. I'll talk a little bit about the team, putting the team together, the contest team, what you need in order to make it successful. I'll talk about some of the contesting we've done and some of our results, and yeah, some of the learnings from our operations. And then kind of the what's next, what's on the horizon for the station. Okay, any questions before I start? Okay, great. So yeah, and the first question I got, you know, I tell my wife, hey, I'm going to build a contest station. She says, don't you already have one of those? You know, I kind of sheepishly said, no. She knew we weren't spending a lot of time at the farm. It's a great place to be. You know, it was a great place to, you know, when we raised kids, we got 4 boys. We raised our kids there, and you know, they ran their 4-wheelers out crazy there, and we had bonfires and hay rides and all of that on the farm. It did a little bit of operating, but you know, right now that's a lot of miles from us, and it's not. Originally we thought we would retire there, but she had other thoughts that I didn't know about at the time. So why build a contest station? Well, you know, if you contest, it's in your blood. That's all I can say. You know, you can be a DXer or a contester, or you can be both, or you can be neither. Usually if you're a contester, you know, DXing is boring, or if you're a DXer, contesting is boring. And it seems like there's nothing in between. There's some rare folks, some of us who like to do both. I operated many contests previous to building this station in the Caribbean. NAQP, Secure Worldwide, won 60-meter contests, 10-meter contests, sweepstakes, the ARRLTX contest. I even worked a couple of European contests, and learned something by operating all of them. I think every time you operate a contest, you learn something more. You learn about how the bands operate. Obviously, you learn all about how what to do and what not to do in the contests. Sometimes you look back on a contest that you've done and you think, I wish I would have switched from 15 to 20 a little bit earlier. Or boy, that was a blowout being on 10 meters. It should have been up on 40. Some of the station places that I've contested before were K9SD, of course, since he was close to us, and when I lived in St. Louis, he was only about a 15-minute drive from me, so I spent a lot of time contesting with him. And as you'll find out, I got to know some of the contesting, the guys that I contest with from that station. K9ZC, which is my own contest station up in Illinois. I spent some time at PGA2T. I worked CQ Worldwide down there a few years ago. That was a good learning experience. I've been at ZF1A. Growing up, I spent time at W0AIH, and boy, if you haven't seen a station with antennas, you got to look that one up. It's a huge mess of antennas. I spent time down at PGA4 contesting with likes of Steve, PGA4DX, and some of the other guys on the island. The modes that I like contesting are, well, pretty much anything, and what I've done in the past. CW, I grew up as a CW op. I thought sideband was only for, getting on the radio and talking to your buddies. Okay, after the contest was over. I did a couple of RTTY contests. When I was real young, I was fascinated by RTTY, so I got one of those old KSR 19 teletypes, and my dad helped me drag that into my room when I was still in high school. That stuck with me for a while. Did a couple of RTTY contests, and operated a special call W1AW/9 back several years ago. As I was building the contest station, I had plenty of other contesters to lean on. Through my operating at other people's stations, I got to know other contesters, other people. So K9SD, obviously, Tony N0NI, Jerry to WB9Z, Kyle WA4PGM, K3LR, NR5M. Interesting about George, I don't know, sometime maybe we can have a discussion about that. I sold him some glass guy rod for guying his antennas. I've got the distributorship for glass guy rod in the United States. K1TTT, W0AIH, W0SD out South Dakota, K9CT, Craig. All of these people I know pretty well, and at one time or another we've either contested together or we've shared ideas, built different things for contesting. So as I said, I previously built a contest station, K9ZC, up in St. Louis, so had a lot of experience in what to do and what not to do from building that station. Okay, are there any questions on why build a contest station? Okay. So the next thing, once you decide that you're going to build a contest station, and like I did, I said, well, okay, let's find a location and build one. My wife wanted to retire to the Caribbean. I'll tell you a little bit about that later at the end of the talk. But so my wife and I both traveled extensively for work and for vacations over the last 30 years. I had offices in London, Singapore, Calgary, Houston, and was traveling all the time for work. My wife was also traveling. She'd been to the Far East and all over the United States and Europe. So we had a kind of a good feel for, what some of the other countries were like. Putting together a station isn't just propagation, okay? It's being able to, deal with the local customs, being able to fit in, being able to speak the language, being able to get things shipped or purchased when you need them. There's a lot of detail that goes into it that a lot of guys forget about sometimes when they go abroad and decide to build a contest stations. And because of that, a lot of them aren't very successful. So we decided that we like the Caribbean. We've been going there for about 17 years now. And the Caribbean has a lot of advantages. One is, travel to anywhere in the Caribbean, out of Atlanta, Houston, Miami, the southern United States anyway. It's only about 4 hours to pretty much anywhere. Most of the countries speak English, or at least English is their official language, or it's their second language. They have friendly governments. They're not hostile like, trying to put a station down in Venezuela would be now. It's relatively easy to ship stuff to them. You can, pack a sea container full of stuff and ship it down to Miami, and tropical shipping. They go to every single Caribbean island within 7 to 10 days. You can have your stuff. Finally, the big deal is, with the Caribbean, is the propagation is phenomenal. And, being sort of centrally located to pretty much every populated, high population country, it's really phenomenal. Okay. If you look at some of the scores that we put up for the contests, that it shows it in spades. I can tell you that, our biggest, I think, awakening was seeing 15 meters and the number of hours that 15 meters would be open down in the Caribbean. We even get a treat sometimes. Early in the morning on 160, the band 160 will be open to Japan. They'll be open for about 30 to 45 minutes. It's very, very strange conditions for that down there. Some of the countries that we visited over the years were, and I brought my radios along when I did this. I had kind of a mobile setup with at the time I had an ICOM 756 Pro 2 and a bunch of stuff that I'd pack into a Pelican box and bring that with us when we went on vacation, on trips. Turks and Caicos, Grand Cayman, St. Kitts, St. John's, St. Bart's, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire, Barbados, and Trinidad. All of these islands, have something to offer. They're all beautiful islands. Some are absolute sandbars. Some are beautiful green lush islands. Some of these islands already have big existing stations on, okay? And I'll tell you about one of them that's going on right now that's, I think in the end is going to be a disaster. Bonaire already has 2 large contest stations on it. It's about to get a 3rd one. And I think for the size of that little island, that's going to be trouble. they're going to be bumping into each other. But my experience was, Turks and Caicos VP5K, Grand Cayman ZF1A, Bonaire PJ4G, PJ4A, Curacao PJ2T, Martinique FM5BH, and this list is not exhaustive. There's several other contest stations or people who get on in contests. They may not have a large station, but they get on in contests and make some noise. And at the time, there was nobody on St. Lucia who did contests. Okay, if somebody was going to contest from St. Lucia, they came down on vacation. They set up portable. They put up portable antennas, and they contested like that. So I saw a bigger opportunity. Well, let me go to the next page. So why did we select St. Lucia as a possible location? Well, first of all, there's approximately 28 hams on the island, and none of them do CW. Okay, they all came up through the CB ranks. They all only use microphones. They don't know what a key's for. So that opens up a whole segment of operating that wasn't on the island previously, and other hams that came to the island and played there, played in contests there, knew that. And if you go out to Club Log and you look at the activity over the years, you can see where all of a sudden there'll be a little tiny blip where somebody came from, say, the UK, went down there, got a license and operated for a week during a contest. And but that's about it. So originally St. Lucia was in the top 100 of countries that you'd want to work. Fast forward to today, I didn't like that. We're at like 238. We're about as rare as as Puerto Rico now. After we've been through some contests down there, but again, there's no contest stations on the island. Most of the contest activity was from people doing portable contests down there. The big guy on the island, who is a very good friend of mine, Franz von Sonbrink, J69DS, very modest station. He's got a tri-bander, and he's got a long wire that he loads for 40 and 80. Does not have a 160 antenna. In fact, my station is the only island station on the island currently that has a 160 antenna. And that's pretty much it. So France would have people ask to come down, and he would rent them his station, and he'd have people stay there, and they would have an opportunity to contest from his station. 3-element tri-banders was the largest antenna on the island until I got there. One odd thing that St. Lucia has is they have a 60-foot tower limitation, and that sort of goes with some other structural limitations, like they don't have any buildings on the island that are taller than 3 stories. That goes back to some hurricane regulations that they put on their structures early when they became independent, back in the 70s. There had been no 160 meter contacts, or I should say none. There were a few, but very, very few, just a handful. So the 160 meter band was ripe for anybody being on the island with a decent antenna.
Bill, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you have to abide by the latest tower regulations, at least as they are in the US down there? with regard to wind speeds?
Well, no, you don't. What I can tell you is, well, let me get into that in the next segment. I talk a little bit about, getting the tower permitted and what I had to do to get the tower permitted. Okay. And it did have to go through an engineering process, but it wasn't like here. As long as the tower was blessed by an engineer, put a stamp on it, it's fine. But there were other pieces of organizations that needed to have a say in it, like the fire department. Actually, the fire department had to come out and look where I was building the tower. All right, and they had to say whether the tower would quote burn down in a fire, or if they could, because structures burn down if there's a fire. Well, does a tower burn down? No, it doesn't, but they had to sign off on it. Did that answer your question? Sort of.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so the terrain on St. Lucia is mountainous, and we looked at properties to buy down there, which were on or near the top of mountains. All right. And we had a set of things that we had on our list for buying a place down there. My wife wanted something that was modern, something that was decent, very, very, very nice. And I needed something that was, on the top of the mountain for antennas. Because remember, I've got a 60-foot tower limitation, right? On St. Lucia, the power is pretty good. It's 240 volt, 50 cycle AC. It's essentially UK power. We always have there are always times when the power goes out. They have brownouts and blackouts. 15 years ago, it used to happen all the time. Today, maybe not so much. And as you'll find out, we put in a generator, and we've got solar power and a number of other things. So we're pretty much self-sufficient down there right now. The island is 28 miles long by 14 miles wide. Has 180,000 residents. So yeah, 28 hams. It's a pretty small piece of the population. And the people who are hams tend to be quote in the business. Okay, meaning they work at radio stations as engineers, or one of my good friends down there, he teaches electronics at the college there that's on the island. The housing market there is very robust, and it's odd. There are listing prices, but the prices that they list are going to be astronomical. And in the end, the price that you pay for the property is what you agree to with the seller, of course. But it's usually nowhere near the asking price. And I would say the property down there is about as expensive as it is here in Houston. And same sort of things apply. Closer you get to the water, the more expensive the property is. Of course, that just makes sense. That's the same sort of thing that happens here. It's not a CEPT country, right? And that's one of the pitfalls. So you have to get a license through their facility. Their licensing facility. They have something called the NTRC, and you'll find that the NTRC is on a lot of the Caribbean islands that are not CEPT countries. And essentially, it's like our FCC. They put together a document. You submit paperwork to them they put together a document, which is essentially your license that goes to a communications ministry that gets signed and then returned to you. And that would be your license. That process on St. Lucia, though, that can take up to 6 months. So, you know, when I've got people, I rent this station out, and when I've got people coming down, I give them all 2 alternatives. Make sure that you get your paperwork in 6 months ahead of time, and then I can't even guarantee that you're going to go get a license. But I do all of the legwork for them to get the license. If it doesn't come through in time, they can always use my call. One odd thing about the band allotments down there is that 40 meters SSB starts at 7150, not 7125 like it does in the United States. Let's see. There's no I can't see that. Oh, there we go. There's no electronic support on island. Okay, there is no Radio Shack well, there is a Radio Shack, but it sells cell phones. You can't get capacitors if you need capacitors, or if you blow a final in your amplifier, you're done until you fly off the island or somehow get one shipped in. Federal Express and UPS have daily deliveries up to the island. It comes in on the tourist flights, and you have to go to a depot to pick your stuff up. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on how much space they've got on the passenger plane. Finally, the island has a lot of family appeal. Okay, there are a lot of things to do there. There's horseback riding. You can snorkel, which my wife loves, and that's the reason that she was a big fan of St. Lucia. The snorkeling's great. We're both divers, so there's plenty of diving there. There's botanical gardens, bird watching, mountain climbing, lots of rum to drink. You can deep sea fish, lots of things to do, okay, for family. So it was really a perfect location. Okay. So
How do you actually get there from Houston? I looked at it one time. I was going to go to try to visit with a guy named Ernest, J68 Alpha Zulu.
I know him, yeah.
Looked, I was going to take 2 days to get there.
Okay, well, here's how you get there. St. Lucia's right there. You see that red circle?
Sure.
Okay, well, you can fly out of Miami. Miami is about right there. And you fly down. That's about a 3 hour, 50-minute flight. You can fly out of Atlanta. That's a little bit longer. That's about a 3.75 hour flight. Once in a while, they have direct flights out of Dallas. Okay, that's a little bit longer. I think it's a little over 4 hours, 4.5 maybe. But all of the major southern airports have routes down to St. Lucia.
Okay.
Like even South Carolina. The cheapest way to get there is on JetBlue. If somebody's up there in New York or New Jersey, you're in luck, because the flights are about half of what you'd pay on American or Delta down there. But they have several flights a day. Right now, American's got two flights a day, big 737-800s. Delta flies a 757, I think, down there. JetBlue's 737. Yeah, flights every day.
Okay. Huh.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep. So back to selecting the location. So in 2014, for me back 2014, retirement was 6 years away. I was going to retire in 2020, and that would make me 65 years old in 2020. Now, I actually wound up retiring 2 years before before that, and there's a whole nother story that goes with that. But for the sake of selecting a location, in 2014, we started looking. We started our search for retirement. We contacted a local real estate agent, and we imparted our needs on the real estate agent. It's a little bit odd down there. They don't have real estate agents for the buyer and the seller. They do both. And then a lawyer actually makes the transaction, puts the transaction together. We wanted an existing structure, no new build. And that's because, we were both still working at the time and trying to get something built in another country while you weren't there. And, the work ethic is probably not the same as it is in the United States. It's just not possible. You have to be there if you're going to build something from the ground up. As I alluded to in the last page, the housing prices really aren't tied to anything concrete, meaning, they don't have a dollar per square foot value or comps in the area or anything like that. It's just, hey, what do you think it's worth? Here's what I think it's worth. And if you can come to some kind of agreement, you're in good shape. So in order for a foreigner to own land on St. Lucia, you have to have something called a foreign landholder's license. Okay. And essentially all it is an extra milking of, between $30,000 and $60,000 out of you just for the privilege of being able to own property there. Okay, I don't think there's another way to say that. It took 2 years from the start to finish. Once we started looking for a property and finally got title to it, it took 2 years. Now, the last 9 months of it were just to complete the sale, because a lawyer was involved and some other things went with that. The place we bought is called Villa Grand Piton, and it was owned by I'll call him a moderately famous artist from the United States. He and his wife built the house down there probably 6 years prior to us buying it. And he pretty well known in the United States. He did like billboards for Broadway and water paints, things for Franklin Mint, that sort of thing. Anyway, his wife passed away, and because of that, he wanted to sell the house, get back to the United States. So finally we purchased Villa Grand Piton, and that seems like an odd name, Villa Grand Piton, right? Well, the reason it's called Villa Grand Piton is it overlooks the Piton Mountains down in St. Lucia. The Piton Mountains are their heritage site mountains on St. Lucia. There's Petit Piton and Grand Piton, and our villa is named after the large mountain. It's a 4-bedroom modern villa, 4,000 square foot ranch. It's got a pool. It's up at the top of this mountain, on the next mountain over from the Piton Mountains. And we're right up at the ridge, and I'll show you some pictures in just a few minutes.
That's a
And you
great
can-
QSL card you got on your QRZ site.
Yeah. And that QSL is taken, well, it's taken from the back of our villa. All right. And I'll show you a shot at the base of the antenna, and you'll see why this is really important, why we bought this property. From the top of the mountain, and you got a 360-degree view. It's beautiful up there, just gorgeous. After we bought the place, we had this major realization that, hey, neither of us are retired, so this place is going to have to sit for a majority of the time during the year. So we essentially got into the rental business. All right. The original owner before us had done a little bit of renting, but we brought this into a whole big business that my wife runs. Now she retired in December, and she makes all of the the reservations and whatnot down at the villa. We bought this is key too. I would have, when we first bought the property, I told my wife, yeah, I can put the tower up on the property that we bought. And yes, I probably could have put the tower up. The guy lines in, she's looking mean at me right now. There's the excuse me, the guy wires would have been in some very odd places where we probably wouldn't have wanted them on the property. So immediately after buying the property, we looked into buying the properties around us. All right. So we bought the property that's just up the hill at the crest of the hill from us, right next door. And that's the place where we put the tower. Okay, and that turned out to be key, really. This is the what I was talking about with respect to the getting there, where St. Lucia is. This is a shot of the villa from the air, from our drone, and this is looking due south. Okay, and those are those two mountains that I was talking about, their heritage site mountains, the Piton Mountains, and then of course that's why our villa is called Villa Grand Piton. This is right at the crest of the mountain. I know you really can't tell that, but there's a ridge that runs up through where I'm drawing this cursor, and our villa sits on it. And then right up above that is the next property that we bought, and I think we'll be building our retirement house up there. But the tower is on that piece of property, and I'll show you that in just a minute. You know, as from where we are on the island, oops, I can't click on that. Okay, well, we're in this little town right here called Soufrière. So we're on the west side of the island, okay? And that's beneficial because you've heard of the westerly winds, right? There are always winds blowing in a westerly direction across this island and on most of the islands down in the Caribbean. All of the hurricanes come out of Africa. They come across and they bend north, usually before they get to St. Lucia. So it's a fairly safe island from hurricanes, not always though. In the past 13 years, I think we've had probably three hurricanes that have hit us. But anyway, so that's where we're located, right on the west side, and we're right on the Piton Mountains are on right here where I'm drawing the circle on the map, and then we're across on the next mountain just north of there. Okay. This is a Google shot where you can see here's our villa, and then the property next door that's cleared. You can see the tower is right where that red speck is, and I've got better pictures to show you than that. But since then, we've purchased, we bought up all of this property around us. Eventually, that will turn into a number of other villas that we'll use as a sort of a small resort, but it will also allow us. I'm building an off-site Radio Shack. It'll allow people to come and stay in those villas and then come up and use the Radio Shack without interfering with the big Villa Grand Piton. Okay, and you can see the sea down below, straight up to the tower. the base of the tower is at 600 feet above sea level. So that's a pretty sharp, it's at least a 45-degree incline up the mountain to the base of the tower. Okay. So any questions before I talk about building the tower, the station? Okay, well, so now we own the property. Now we've actually got to build a station. And, you know, this isn't the kind of place where you can go to the, you know, HRO and buy a tower, or Texas Towers, and, you know, get a tower delivered and, you know, on a weekend put a tower up. The first thing I had to do is talk to the regulators, and that's the NTRC, are the people like our FCC that, you know, regulate the airspace. Get my J68 license, which I'd had all along. You know, I'd had this for probably 10 years before actually building the station. But I went and visited with them, told them what I was interested in doing. They reiterated to me that there was a 60-foot tower restriction, but that really didn't seem to mean much because I was at the top of a 600-foot mountain. And I was right at the crest of the mountain where it rolled off on each side. And as you won't be able to see this, but the 160, I've got a 160-meter inverted V, and it works exceedingly well. And the reason it does is because the land falls away from the tower at such an angle that it doesn't interfere with the inverted V. It took approximately 9 months to get the building permit to put the tower up. I received that in 2018. And like I said, there were a number of government offices on the island that had to okay this tower going up. All right, the fire department, they have something called SLASPA, which is sea and air, and they had to, you know, redo some of the airspace maps, because now all of a sudden they had an obstruction on a new obstruction on the map. They required me to put a red light at the top of the tower, even though it was only 60 foot tall. They required me to paint the tower red and white every 5 feet instead of the normal 10 feet. Let's see, at the planning commission, they had sort of an open season from my neighbors, you know, asking if they mind seeing this monstrosity being stuck up in the air. And quite frankly, we got some negative feedback. There's a hotel or a motel, very famous hotel that we look down on. It's down below us. It's called Jade Mountain. And they were not happy to see that tower go up. And yet they're, you know, almost a mile away. In preparation for putting the tower up, I shipped down a bunch of tools. I shipped down a cement mixer. The road to get to the top of the hill, as you can quite imagine, you can't get a cement truck up, even if there was to be one to be had on the island. So I shipped down a cement mixer, hydraulic rebar benders and cutters, a jackhammer. This is a volcanic island. Okay, so there's probably 6 inches of topsoil, and then you hit solid rock, and you have to jackhammer your way into the solid rock. So the hole for the tower was 4 by 4 by 4, and we jackhammered, you know, that 4 by 4 by 4 hole into solid rock. The initial intended design for the contest, you know, we wanted to work 160 through 2 meters. Now, I'm not really a VHF guy, but I've got some friends who are. So they, all along, they've been talking me into, hey, let's make sure we've got 6 meters, 2 meters, 432, and, you know, so we've got something to do. And we can participate in some of the contests. So I said, yeah, okay, fine. we'll at least get antennas on the tower for that sort of thing. We originally designed the station with 2 inverted V's, one for 160 and one for 80, just to get us on the air. Later, we put up, on away from the main tower at the other end of that property, we put up a high tower for 160 and 80 meters in there. We've got enough radials to put, I think 120 radials underneath that high tower. Now, what we're doing currently is we're laying those radials out every time, and there are reasons for that. We haven't set the home site where our eventual retirement house will be, so I can't really put the radials down quite yet permanently. But suffice it to say that someday those radials will be in permanently. The antenna that seemed to be the golden goose was the step IR, because continuous coverage in frequency from 7 to 50 megahertz in one antenna, phenomenal. A phenomenal antenna, right? There are a lot of things I found out about this antenna that I wish I knew before I bought it. I may have gone a different direction, but it has worked. When it works, it has worked well for us in contests. So I bought one of those. Later, I bought a second 4-element, and I'll talk about a little bit about that thing as I go into learnings. Bought a 2-meter antenna, an 18-element M squared. It's got a 36-foot boom on it. That's the antenna at the very top of the tower. I also bought 8 5-element 2-meter antennas to use from Directive Systems to use as beaconing antennas. Okay, if we were going to do 2 meters, you almost have to have a beacon running so that you know when the band opens. Otherwise, you're sitting there screaming into into dead air. Also, we've got 5/8 waves verticals for 10 meters and 6 for the 10 meter and the 6 meter beacons that are on site. So we put the 60 feet of Rowan 55G tower up. You used to turn the 2-meter beam and the step IR at the top. We've got an M squared 2800 rotor. Bought and brought down 1,000 feet of LMR 600. And the reason we've got all of that is because we've got runs from the tower all the way to the main villa. It's a little over 200 feet. It's about 230 feet, something like that. So right now, we rent the villa out to non-hams, and they don't want to trip over wires while they're there. So we roll up all the coax and the rotor cables and all of that. And when somebody comes down and operates the station, we roll those wires back out and put the station up, hook all of that up. Probably later this year, we'll start construction on a shack that's right at the base of the tower. So we won't have to be doing that in the future. But anyway, so we put the tower, we jackhammered the hole, poured 15 yards of concrete early in 2019. The guys had to go into the side of the mountain in order to hold the tower in position. Because the tower is kind of at the crest of the ridge, the guy wires actually go down the side of the crest. So that was quite challenging. And I've got a maintenance guy, a maintenance manager, or a construction manager that does all of this for me. And he performs feats of miracles sometimes, and this is one of them, putting in guide points on the sides of mountains. Okay, so we got lines that run to the villa. I say 250 feet. It's probably a little less than that, but for power, we need power out of the tower because we've got a light on the tower. We've got 4 LMR 600 runs out there for antennas. We've got rotor cable. We've got tower mounted antenna switch, so we can switch between the main step IR antenna and the 2 inverted V's that came off the main tower. Had I to do this again, and it's one of the learnings, I would never put a antenna switch at the top of the tower. And it's one of the things that once we get the shack built at the bottom of the tower, we'll run the coax straight down from all of the antennas to the shack and do away with that point of failure. So we started the station originally as a multi-single station. Okay. We might have multiple operators, obviously, to operate the contest, but it started out as a multi-single. And in fact, the first contest that we did was a ARRL TDXS SB contest, and it was set up as a multi-single. So one radio, just, antennas for one radio, and, one amplifier, and that's it. The day that we finished putting up the DB42, it was the day before the 2019 ARRL DX contest. Okay, so this thing went up in the nighttime, and that led to some really bad things happening. This particular antenna looks the same from both directions, and you can kind of see. Well, let's see. Okay, so here are some pictures of us putting the tower up. Okay, so a couple of local. Oh, and by the way, the tower crew, you see over here on the right hand side, everybody in that picture is a St. Lucian except for myself. Franz in the foreground here, he's J69DS. He's the guy who has had other contesters come to his station. This is Lynn, J69CU. He's the guy who teaches electronics at the college, and he is an incredible climber. He maintains most of the towers on the island for radio stations and for the cellular guys. The guy back here is my construction manager, and he is just a brute. He's about 285 pounds and like 6'5", and when we need 400 pounds lifted, he's the guy I talk to. And then here's me standing there with a beer. You can see here down in the lower right hand corner, we got the tower into the concrete, and got that all leveled up. We let that sit for a week before we started building the tower sections, as you can see on both sides, getting those set into position. And you can see temporary guys on the tower here. And over here, you can see temporary guys, as we're climbing the tower and putting the sections into position. You can see a homemade gin pole here. I forgot to send a gin pole down, and Lynn, who does most of the tower work on the island, had a gin pole that we could use. There's the red light that they made me put on the tower. There's the cement mixer that we used for mixing all of the cement that went in all the holes and the guide points. Here's a partially filled tower hole. And here's some of the guide points that we put in. And it's hard to appreciate these, but if you look at the one over on the right-hand side, this is down the side of the mountain. Okay, you see the incline is something about the same pitch as the guy bar that's coming out of the concrete. So my construction manager had to mix the concrete in the cement mixer up above, and he took tin and folded it into chutes and staked the chutes out down the side of the mountain in order to get the cement down to where it needed to go, down into these guide points. Very ingenious. So this is essentially once we got the antennas installed, the tower in the concrete, and the antennas installed, and we were all ready for our first contest. This is kind of what it looked like. It's just a short video from the drone. As you can see over here, this is a ridge. This is the ridge of the mountain right here. And the tower is situated right on the ridge.
If you're standing on the top of the tower, can you see the Gulf of Mexico?
If there weren't any haze, and the curvature of the earth was probably a little less, you probably could see land. I mean, it's a straight shot.
Okay. So you didn't have any problems with propagation with your tower, et cetera, et cetera. You were okay.
Oh, no, this is, I have a clear straight shot to the north into the United States. Okay. The antenna looks to the south through those two tall mountains, but you know what? There's nothing south of me, absolutely nothing. This is almost done.
Is there any cell towers close by?
There actually are. No, well, there is a cell tower that's within probably a mile of us. It's situated on top of a hill that is right up above that Jade Mountain Hotel that I spoke of. It's actually below us, though. So here's another shot. This is closer to the antenna, so that you can see the antenna. You can see the inverted V's on each side of the tower. You can see that 2-meter beam way up on top. And you know, oddly enough, one of the first contacts I made with that 2-meter beam was the D4C station one afternoon on sideband. And that's what the antenna looks like from the ground. You can see the guy lines. You can see a kind of a first shot at a 160-meter antenna. This was very early on. It's a long wire.
Hey, Bill, I think you were going to mention how the antenna looks symmetrical both directions.
Oh, yeah. So have a look at this antenna. Does that antenna, it looks pretty symmetrical, doesn't it? Okay. We put that up in the dark and we put it up 180 degrees out of phase. So when we pointed it north, it was actually pointed south. All right. And we ran an entire contest the next day like that, with that antenna pointed the wrong direction.
Put it in the 180 mode. Didn't
You
know
know,
do that.
well, we did, and the signals got louder, and we just thought it was something odd going on. This is later on when we put up the high tower, and this is looking from the main tower towards the high tower. You can see up high, you can see the 160 trap, and the wire runs all the way over to the big tower.
Yeah, I got the same thing on mine.
And that's turned out to be a phenomenal antenna. Works really well.
Did you have a beverage for receive on 160?
So we've got a couple of different antennas for receive. I think what works best now, I don't use it much because I don't have enough time usually to set this out for contest, but I've got an active Foursquare. Okay. It's a DXN engineering. It was designed specifically for this application. It's a Foursquare, plus it's got a fifth antenna as a tickler so that you can use it to null out noise. But there is the opportunity for us to put up some beverages. We didn't used to own the all of the property that we would have cut across with for beverages, but now we do. So we could probably put up some beverages. In fact, we talked about it in the last contest. We just ran out of time in doing it.
Bill, you mentioned noise. Do you have problems with noise?
Well, okay, so that's one of the differences with the Caribbean. Couple things. One is you get strange motor noises and things down there that you don't get here in the United States because things aren't as well regulated down there. You also get a static discharge, a lot of static discharge because it's always windy down there. Okay, so you have to make sure that you use things like static chokes, and there are just some times during the year when you've got an S9 noise level. Okay, that's when the active antennas would really shine though, because they're the right polarization to cancel that out.
Cool, thanks.
You can see us on top of the mountain here. The villa is there. And if you look real close, you can see the tower right there. Okay.
Is the hotel right below the red, the bottom of the red?
No, the hotel is down over here. It's out of the picture.
Okay.
Okay. There are actually two hotels over there on Chastanay and Jade Mountain, and they're both owned by the same company. Okay, so any questions before we go to selecting the equipment?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
In the scope of things, I mean, it takes a long time to build this.
Yes.
If you did the same thing in St. Louis that you did in St. Lucia, what's the factor? Times 3, times 4, times 5, comparative dollar wise, I guess.
Well, okay, so from a time standpoint, it only took a couple of months to put in a 164 square. It took me 2 years plus a couple of months to put in the antennas down in St. Lucia.
Right.
And from a money standpoint, I've probably got maybe I don't know, maybe a third of the money in the antennas in Illinois. I mean, that's that DB42, just the antenna alone is $10,000.
Right.
Okay. And that's without shipping it down there. And all the other things that have to go with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that's what I was asking. It's gotta be a significant factor.
Oh yeah. This thing is a money pit. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's fun, but it's a money pit, and hopefully I don't run out of money before I die. That's all I keep crossing my fingers here. So rules, equipment for a contest station down there. Now, remember, we started out as a multi-single, right? Excuse me. So one rule of the Caribbean that I learned from Jeff at the owner of PJ2T is always have a spare. Well, I always have 2 spares because there's a high probability that the original piece of equipment will work and that the spare will fail. And when you get equipment that fails, there's no place to go but home. Okay, unless you can pull resistors out of some hidden place or capacitors and other parts. So, knowing that we were originally going to set this up as a multi-single, we've got two K3Ss that are fully loaded with P3s that we use for contesting. We also have down there on ICOM 9700 fully loaded. That's for UHF and VHF. I've got two ICOM 7800s. I haven't sent those down yet. They're still sitting up at my contest station in Illinois, and they're kind of collecting dust. So I think I'm going to send those down there just so that we can put those into service down there and use them, because some guys like ICOMs, some guys like K3s. Just this last weekend, like 5 days ago, while I was at Xenia or Dayton, whatever you want to call it, I bought a new Flex 6600 and 4 of those Maestro interface screens. We've learned over with our various ways of contesting to contest now a certain way. We'll generally have a run guy and a pounce guy, or at least we're trying to get to that situation where we can have 2 guys on the same band. And the rules are such that from even for a multi-single, as long as only one transmitter is transmitting, you're fine. It still meets the regulations. The Flex 6600's got 4 slices, so it's got like four receivers built into it. And in that way, you could have a run guy running, let's just pick 20 meters, a run guy running contacts on 20 meters on a fixed frequency, and a pounce guy moving up and down the band looking for multipliers, and then him working those contacts or stacking them for the run guy. Okay. Now that only uses 2 of the 4 slices. The Flex having 4 slices, you can actually set this up on 2 bands. So you could do a multi-2 with this, having 2 run guys and 2 pounce guys on different bands. So I haven't gotten the radio yet. It's supposed to ship in 6 weeks. I'm going to ship it down there, and I don't know if we're going to use this this fall. We're going to do the CQ Worldwide from down there, and I don't know if we're going to do this or not. It's going to be up to the contest team. I'm going to put it to them, and if they want to do it, fine. And if they don't, we'll go back and use the K3s. We've got amplifiers. I've got a KPA 1500. I've also got a KPA 500 that's down there. I've got an Alpha 76 conversion to. I just finished up putting the pair of 3CX 800s in it. I also got a 1200 watt W6 PQL 2-meter amp for 2 meters. We use N1MM for logging. I know there are lots of variety of different logging softwares, but all of the guys on the on the contest team are familiar with N1MM, so that's what we use, and everybody's familiar with it. We all, to varying degrees, can work our way around inside it. We've got a number of, well, right now there are 6 computers down there. Remember that, have at least 2 spares. Yeah, we've had computers quit down there, so we've got 6 computers for logging. They're all we can network all of them so that we can do band stacking and send messages and that sort of thing. Early on, while the tower was going in, I built something else. I built this skimmer. So J68, St. Lucia has its own skimmer, KCW ready WSJT, and it's off-site. We've had some issues with it staying on the air because of moving locations, but I think we found a permanent location there to put it in. It's great because it's local and you can get it local. In other words, put spots up local, Plus it does reverse beacon feed so that if you do use it in a contest, it's legal for using it in a contest. The beauty of the skimmer obviously is you can see things that you can work. Okay, you're not chasing the things that you can't work. We've got some other hardware down there. We've got an automatic antenna switch that I built. You don't have to foots with antennas. All you have to do is switch bands and everything switches and you're ready to go. Hit the go button. We've got some hard lockout hardware now that we'll be testing that has the ability to if you're working multi-single, you can use the lockout hardware to lock a radio out so only one of them's transmitting it at a time to make it legal. The rotor controllers we use are the Green Herons. Nothing special about that. This is a little special though. So the Step IR controllers on SDA 2000. And I make my own antennas for contesting. Okay, that's the beauty of the SDA 2000. I do some modeling ahead of time. And in fact, we've actually had antenna failures. We had a loop come off, one of the returns come off the Step IR, one of the 40-meter loops. So we couldn't use the antenna on 40 meters as it sat. It was the reflector side that came off. So what I did is I modeled a 2-element 40 antenna 180 degrees out of phase. And I was able to put that into the antenna controller. In fact, that's what we used when we won the multi-single ARRL TDXS SP contest in 2021. We use both headsets, kind of rubber stamp kind of thing with the mod mics. And we do that so that when you sit down and it's your turn to go on the radio, all you have to do is plug the headsets in and they're all set up. You don't have to fiddle with any of the bias, mic bias, or frequency shaping or any of that stuff. It's just ready to go. We've added some 5 Bravo 4 AGN 5-band filter boxes. We just used those in the last contest for multi-2 operations, and they work spectacular. They're great filter boxes. So in all of this, I've talked about the hardware and putting it all out. Another thing that I learned from Jeff at PJ2T was that when you take your station down and you take it apart, you put your electronics in bags for storage and you suck all your oxygen out. You suck all the air out. Use those vacuum bags. If you do that, the moisture doesn't get to the electronic parts and you don't have any rust or deterioration because of that.
Cool.
So that was a great learning. So if you guys ever do, it even works in Houston. If you're going to be gone for a while and the radio's sitting out, you put it in a bag and suck all the air out. When you come back, it'll be pristine. Okay. So here are the operating positions, and here's the way we normally set them up. This is position 1. You can see the K3, the P3. You can see filter box. Right there is something I didn't talk about. Sometimes we'll get multiple guys listening. We can have multiple guys listening while one guy's calling CQ or working the run side of the station. And so if one of the guys doesn't catch the call, the other guy will. There's the KPA 1500 amplifier, and I don't know what in the world that is. Oh, that's the that's the antenna controller. These pictures are too small. Then the second operating position, which is almost identical, the amplifier, there's a KPA 500 sitting there. Okay. Here you can see me sitting over on the right side. You can see me sitting there as the second operator while Mike, one of our operators, is running. And I'll watch and listen to make sure that the call goes into the log right. Or if I pick the call up and he doesn't, I'll type it in and he'll just have to hit enter. Here's Kyle, WA4PGM over on, pardon me? It's Kyle, WA4PGM on the second station. It looks like he's I can't tell if he's working or if he's reading something, can't tell. But anyway, that's the way the station's set up. Okay. Any questions before we go on to almost the final piece of this?
Yeah, you mentioned your Bose headsets. You said you have mod mics. Could you tell me what a mod mic is?
So if you go out to Amazon and Google mod mic, MODMIC.
Okay.
Okay, and what the thing is, it's a microphone that's got a little magnetic attachment, and you put a little sticker on your Bose headset or your whatever headset that you've got, if it doesn't have a boom mic. And that way the microphone attaches right to in fact, the one that I'm using right here, that's a mod mic. You see it in the picture.
Oh, cool.
See,
Wow.
and it comes, see, it comes off.
They got wireless versions too.
Yes, they do.
Oh, okay.
And they're superb for contesting.
Cool.
All of our contest team members, they all contribute in some way. And this is something I learned from them, is this microphone. And it's just phenomenal. So here's, okay, any other questions before I move on to the?
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Sure. So contest team, myself, Kyle Chavis, WA4PGM. I've contested with him for years, probably maybe 20 years. I first worked together with him at K9SD and later at PJ2T. I think we did a CQ Worldwide at CW contest at PJ2T together. Okay, so we work real well together. We know each other's, how we operate real well. Dan, who W0CN, who is just a fabulous contester, a sideband contester. He of all of us, he holds the run rate records. So good guy to have on a contest team.
Where do you live, Dan?
I'm sorry.
Where-
I appreciate the kudos there. Yes.
Where do you live? You want to come to field day?
It's actually, I moved from the East Coast to Minnesota and don't have a home right now. It's kind of tempting. So I'll think about it.
Come down. We need operators.
I appreciate it.
Oh, and another thing about Dan, he's ex-military, so he's real precise about what he does. Okay, I mean, he's the guy who makes up all the maps that go on the wall, so we know where to aim the antennas and the lists for the operators' time schedules and all of that. He's very, very precise. I love that. Okay. We brought Franz van Sundbrink in. I think, he's been involved in putting this station together from the ground up, and he's probably the best operator on the island. So we thought, I mean, it was a perfect fit for us to bring him into the fold and get him up to speed on contesting. And I got to tell you, he's a natural. He turned out to do very well his first contest just a couple of months ago. Mike Trowbridge is one of our contestants as well, for RRU, and both Dan and Kyle have contested with him before. I I knew of him, but I'd never contested with him before, just till the last few months. And he turned out to be a great addition to the contest team too. And I got to tell you, the more people that you have when you're contesting, the more rest you get, right? And the fresher you are. We got some other guys that, we'll bring into the fold for maybe for different types of contests. I've got some, J68CU, who is the other guy on the island, the guy that teaches electronics. He's an extremely sharp guy. And I'd love to get him involved. So he knows, he gets the feel for what this is all about. K8SD, he's a good buddy that I've known for 30 plus years. He's a UHF VHFer, very well known in those circles. And I've got something special here coming that he's working on, a project of mine he's working on. K0UM, I've known since high school. K0KX. You may know Mark, K0KX. He's a very avid contester. Just about every contest that's known to man, he's participated in, and he usually ranks pretty high in all of them. To be Zero PV, another friend, and there is a cast of others that will probably do some of the lesser known contests with. Like for example, I've done one RIDI contest down there, and I did it myself, and it was the BART G contest. It's European contest, and I did it just to get the software working on the computer, just to set it up so that I knew that it worked for RIDI. And I was doing it during the contest, so I only worked about a day's worth of a 2-day contest, and I came in 5th, if you can imagine. So the station is really capable for stuff like this. So important factors when you're putting together a contest team. Everyone's got to work well together. Okay, you got to pick the right personalities. You can't have guys that run hot and cold. You can't have guys that get pissed off all the time. And I think we're really lucky. All of the guys that we've got are really super level-headed. We've all got the same goal. And you know what? If we don't win the contest, that's okay. All right. We're not throwing things and breaking glasses. That's fine. As long as we did our best and we can look ourselves in the mirror, we're good to go, because there'll always be another contest. Everyone on the team contributes, meaning everybody has a skill. Like we've got Kyle on the team, and he's great at propagation. Okay, management. He puts together before all of the contests just hourly predictions of what the propagation is going to look like. Maybe decides ahead of time when we ought to look towards shifting to a different band. And puts the score together from the last contest. You always need an IT function. Franz, by training, is an IT guy, so he fits in really well. Team management, Dan falls into that. Like I say, he's real exacting, and I love the way he's very precise. Everything just flows. Of course, you have to eat, so there are meals, and we all plan our meals. And some of us are better cooks than others, and that plays into this. Putting out op schedules and all of the other things. Everybody contributes. That's what I'm trying to say here. When we get ready for a contest, or we announce that we want to do a contest, we'll generally start having Zoom meetings, maybe as early as 3 months before the contest, sometimes, just to talk about all of the things we have to do and prepare for before we get there. And we'll work through some of the propagation, some of the antennas, what we think we'll need, what sorts of, do we want to do a multi-single or a multi-two, or we can't do a multi-multi, we don't have enough space for those antennas, or high power, low power, those sorts of things. We also have to, everybody on the team understands how to live with failures, okay? And we've had a bunch of failures. Like we've arrived at the station. I've gotten there a couple of days before we were supposed to have a contest and part of the antenna was missing. Okay, that's just a fact of life. And the antenna is not going to come down in, 2 days, get repaired and get put back up. Just can't get guys together fast enough to do that. So we've all learned to live with failures, and the high tower came down in a high wind, sheared the insulators off. And it's good because there's an all hands on deck kind of a mentality in getting ready. So when it comes to pulling the cables out or putting out ground radials or rolling the cables up, everybody's ready to help. And I love that about the team too. Okay, that just means that Bill doesn't have to do it all. Okay, contrast results. Let me start at the bottom and work up. So 5th place ARRL SSB DX contest 2019 in multi-single high power. This we did with the antenna pointed backwards. All right. We came in 5th place with the antenna pointed the wrong way. How about that? But we learned from our mistakes. We put the antenna the right way for the next year. We had another group come down, a medical group, and they I forget what they call themselves, a medical amateurs association or something, and they go to different places and they contest and they DX and that sort of thing. But they picked my location and they entered in the CQ Worldwide DXSSB contest as a multi-single, but they were originally going to enter as high power. Well, they were at the location the whole week before the contest in using the amp, and sure enough, 2 hours before the contest, the KPA 1500 dies. Now, remember that old adage I had up that you need to have a spare +2? Well, at that time, we didn't have a spare amplifier. So they were just stuck with low power. Now, that turned out to be a godsend because I don't think they would have done nearly as well in high power as they did in low power. All right, they came in 6th place in CQ Worldwide in multi-single low power. And these guys are by no stretch of the imagination, real serious contesters. Okay, they would get up and leave the station and go eat dinner and come back and then operate again. So then the next contest operated, CQ Worldwide 160 contest. I had blown up the inverted V on the tower, and I'll show you a picture of that stupid thing. So I quickly ran out, and I did it that same week right before the 160 contest. So I quickly ran up and put a long wire up, and it was at the falling end, it was only like 15 feet off the ground. Very noisy, but it sort of worked. 25th place, okay, least who placed, and it was just me. I was there all by myself. The next ARRL SSB contest in 2020, we were ready for that one. The antenna was pointed the right way, multi-single high power, 7721 QSOs in 24 hours. We came in 2nd place to the 1st place team ZF1A. Okay, the next year, ARRL SSB contest 2021, we made, a little more than 300 more QSOs in the same amount of time. This time we came in 1st place and ZF1A came in 2nd place. Then we tried our hand last fall at the CQ Worldwide SSB, and we turned in a lot of contacts, but not a lot of multipliers. All right. And it was our first CQ Worldwide, and we really need to sit down and understand how to operate this contest. We were real low on multipliers, and we have to learn how to navigate that as a team for the CQ Worldwide in particular. And then finally this year, the contest that we ran in the ARRLC International SSB DX contest. 8262 QSOs. So, you know, another 220 roughly plus QSOs. We came in second place to ZF1A again. They were really smoking. They had, I think, 400 more QSOs than us, and many more multipliers. And we weren't able to carry out the run and pounce objective that we wanted to, as well as they did. So I think bringing the new radio online, the new Flex, may give us an advantage, an edge in being able to do that. Okay.
I would add, we had the first time we had a noise problem on the low bands as well. That really hampered us this year.
Yeah, that's true. We did have a noise issue, and you know, that noise is not there. The last time I was there and I had the radio set up, there wasn't any noise on the low bands.
Are you going to be able to get to do a test with the Flex several times to get the procedure down to be able to do that?
Well, it's something that I've got to talk to the team about. If we can come in, you know, a week early roughly, or, you know, at least a few days early, so that we can play with the thing and we can all, you know, get together and we feel comfortable, then we'll do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, so here's some learnings. So learnings. First ever contest, the antenna's backwards, but we still came in 5th place. That's good in the world. That's good. We determined we need a better 160 meter antenna on 160 in 2020. You know, when I worked in 160 contest, yeah, we fixed that now with the high tower. I think we're in pretty good shape there. Installed the 4-square active receive antenna for 80 and 160. I have to make that permanent. I'm going to try and figure out a way where I can make that permanent next time I go down there, so we don't have to tear it down, because it's a lot of work setting that particular antenna up. 15 has always been our big band. Always. Meat and potatoes. We make our most, the band is open the most. That is the band that's open the most amount of time. And it's, the propagation is always great. And I look forward to more 15 meters. Or 15 meters, yeah. 40 meters is the band that we're loud on. We're loud everywhere on 40 meters. I mean, I constantly have people after the contest, you know, I'll be on the bands and they'll just stop by and say, by the way, during the contest, you were 50 over S9. We found that we can do multi-2 with a second fixed step IR antenna. So I said that I had a second step IR antenna that was shipped down, and so I shipped that antenna down specifically to do you know, multi-2. Now I'm glad I did that, because Hurricane Elsa hit last year and destroyed the DB42. Well, I say destroyed it, bent the boom. So the antenna had to come down and be reconstituted. In the meantime, we put up the 4-element step IR. So that's what's up now. The DB42 is completely rebuilt. It's ready to go back up, but we haven't put it back up yet. But when that happens, the 4-element will go halfway up the tower and be pointed fixed at the United States or Europe, depends on the contest. We switched to the single band run pounce model with lockout. I think that's going to do us well in the future. I found out we've got way too much hardware to maintain. Okay, and you know, since it's my station, I'm the guy that's responsible for maintaining it. You know, other guys would volunteer to, but when it comes down to brass tacks, I'm the guy that has to maintain it. My K3s are getting old. Right now, I've got more K3s on the bench here getting fixed than I've got working ones. They're getting long in the tooth. So I was looking at maybe picking up some newer radios. I thought about, K4s are normal replacements. Everybody's familiar with the K3s, but trying to get a K4 right now and getting them in quantity, they're just unaffordium. It just doesn't happen. And so enter the Flex. It's tailor made for this run pounce model that we're trying to affect. So,
How do you like
so-
the Flex on CW?
what's that?
How do you like the Flex on CW?
I have no idea. Haven't done it. Haven't used the thing on CW. Haven't used it at all.
Okay.
All right. I bought it sight on, I listened to a couple of guys. I was talking to Craig at K9CT. I, sent emails back and forth a few times, and Kyle, or one of our other contest team members, WA4 PGM, he went and played with the Flex, and he was pretty impressed. The only thing that bothers me about it is the latency time. There's a little bit of a latency with that radio, and we're gonna have to get past that.
That would drive me nuts.
Oh wow.
At high speeds, that would drive me crazy.
I know. It's not so bad with the Maestro thing connected, but if you're using laptops, and I'm going to have to use laptops for a while because the Maestros are 6 months out, so I have to use the laptop software in the meantime, or the PC software, and that does have a little bit of latency to it. We also learned to, we got to learn to be better at moving multipliers and band stacking. If there's any downfall that we have, it's multipliers. Our rates are really good. We generally can out QSO anybody in a contest. We just need to know where the multipliers are and go after them. We sometimes use 2 ops per position. Okay, even if it's just the run position, that works great. Okay, you miss less calls that way. Big part of our contest plan involves understanding propagation. I already talked about that. The step IR antennas. Now here's where it gets down to the reality here. The step IR antennas are just horrible. I've had that big beam down 3 times now. I've owned it 4 years and it's been down 3 times. And I've had pieces of it fall off. I've had pieces of it break. It's been bent in windstorms, and things have failed on it. And all of these things I've had to deal with myself because step IR for the most part has been missing in action, especially during these COVID times. I've had to create my own parts to put on these antennas and my own procedures on different ways to fix them. I mean, Alan can tell you, he's on the reflector. I mean, it's a goat rodeo. Okay. Okay, so when I was at Dayton this year, I talked to M squared, and if this thing comes down one more time, it's down for good. And I've got an M squared replacement in my back pocket that's coming. Already talked about the JA openings on 160.
Who makes the decision to switch bands when things are good and you're running? How do you do that?
So we leave that up to the operators, okay? And the operator may ask, for somebody else to, their opinion. Like if I'm running and I'm running out of gas, I may ask one of the other guys that's standing there, hey, what do you think about moving to, it's now the right time to move to another band, or to, from 15 to 20. And we'll talk about it a little bit before we do it, just so we don't blow our plan. Okay, so we try and do as much stuff as a group as we can. Okay, so here's some of the failure stuff, okay? So up here is the result of ELSA. You can see that hook in that bit, that boom. That's my DB42 boom, and it looks like a pretzel. Here are some of the EHU, the element devices. You can see cracks in the case. That's because of Hurricane Elsa. Here down below on the right, you can see one of the returns of the antenna fell off. And this was right before the 2021 ARRL DXSSB contest. Okay, so this is where I had to go. Well, I can't extend the element out the tube. You can't do that. It'll dangle down. It'll kink. So the furthest I could go is, make it a 20-meter element, and then for 40 meters, not use this element and turn it into a 2-element antenna pointed the other direction. Over here on the left side, you can see in this picture, this is where I burned up that that balun. Don't be fooled by these power readings on these baluns. I mean, the SWR on this thing was very low, and it was supposedly a 5 kilowatt balun, and during the contest it burned up. So now I use these huge 10 kilowatt baluns. Okay.
Duty cycle.
Yes,
Cycle.
exactly. And they're they're hung by some massive hardware, and the center insulators are made out of big rod of Delrin, so that can't rip through. And I use nothing but hard drawn copper weld, number 12. Everything else breaks. And way over here, you can see the 4-element is now up in place of the 5-element, because the 5-element's on the ground getting fixed. Okay, any questions before we finish this up?
When you make an antenna up, down, 3 people, 4 people?
Yeah, it's usually 4 people. Okay, now I've got I have all the toys for putting antennas up. I've got an electric winch, lineman's winch that I use for hauling antennas up and down the tower. Okay, and I've got a big aircraft cable tram line. So that part of it is fairly easy. But I mean, once it gets up at the top of the tower, muscling, that antenna weighs almost 250 pounds. So trying to muscle it into position, it takes a couple of guys to do it. And it's just a nightmare, anything else? Okay, so wrapping this up. So what's next? One of the things I want to do serious is get the step IR antennas working finally and keep them up. Or I'm going to find an alternative, and I think I've already started down a path to find an alternative, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. M Squared makes a 40-20 on the same boom, and then Force 12, which is now JK Antennas, they make a 10 through 17 antenna. Okay, a long boom, a lot of element. 10 through 17. So I think that's what will go up in place of that.
Have you looked at the GXP?
I have, but not enough bands.
Yeah, I mean it's just non-work bands for what you would use it for. Yeah.
Right. So one of the I've got a twist coming. We're going to construct an EME station down there. Okay. I've got an EME station under construction up at my station up in St. Louis. See this this dish right here? That came from the research. Gosh, I can't remember. I'm getting old. The research center in San Antonio, Southwest Research Institute. That dish came from Southwest Research Institute. Okay, I picked that up a couple years ago. I saw it posted on a reflector, and they were trying to sell it. Not too many people can handle a 30-foot dish like that. And I've got all the control mechanism, all the stuff that goes with it, but it was all taken apart and put into crates. So I hired a truck and shipped it up to my my place up in St. Louis, and K8SD is in the process of putting this thing back together so that we can use it in Yummy. What's better is I have a 24-footer that's being created right now to go to St. Lucia. So we'll have a dish for down there too. And again, K8SD is a guide behind that.
Bill, how much does that thing weigh?
That thing weighs about 1,500 pounds. This one does 1,500 pounds.
And the other one?
The 24-foot one weighs about 900 pounds. Okay, and you know it reasonably fits into a fairly small area. You know, when it's taken apart, all the spars are off and all the pedals are off it. The heaviest piece is that center hub, because it's you know, it's 1-inch aluminum. You know, that's a 5-foot circle, and it stands 4 feet high. It's huge. So anyway, we'll be starting an EME station down there here shortly. I want to finish the detached radio building, and that's a benefit because it saves me from taking out, building, and tearing down the station every time I come and go, or when we have ham visitors there. I just want things to keep getting better. However we make that happen, we make it happen. I just wanted to show you a couple pictures of the contest teams that have been down here. This is the medical doc. All these guys are either medical doctors or physicians, sorry, dentists. That guy's a dentist. That came down and operated that CQ Worldwide contest. This was after the ARRL DXSSB contest. France had another fellow, NY3B contest at his station at the same time. So we actually had two contest stations on J6 going on at the same time. This was 2 years ago. And we all got together after the contest and took a picture together. This is the latest 2022 contest photo. This is Kyle, WA4 PGM, Mike, KA4 RRU, Franz J69 DS, and Dan W0CN. And this ugly face is me, K98Z.
Have you got a picture of K0UM?
K0UM? Yeah, I do. Oh man. I can find one. Well, let me get out of this and I'll find one for you.
Go ahead and finish.
Okay, yeah, I got one picture. You know, not all is not work down there. We do have some fun. Last time we were down there, are you guys familiar with the Hot Ones? What this is all about? First We Feast. There's a YouTube show where a guy goes, he invites celebrities on, and they eat 10 chicken wings, and they start with a real mild hot sauce, and they go up all the way up to this the hottest sauce on earth thing. Well, you can buy these kits of sauce, and the last time we were down there, we took the challenge, and we all cooked up some chicken wings, and we did the sauce challenge. Anyway, so it's not all hard work. It's sometimes fun and play.
How much corrosion do you get at that station? on the
Correct.
hardware, the metal and everything else.
You know what? Because we're so far up above the ocean, not much. It's surprisingly little. Okay. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah. I've stopped sharing, right?
Nope, you're still there.
I'm still sharing.
See, plenty of hot sauce.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd
Well, I'm-
probably start with the classic and go the other way. I used to be able to eat hot stuff, but you don't like me no more.
Okay.
I'd be
Yeah, this is Dan. They're still working on me. I'm at the catch-up phase right now, working my way up.
I can do better than ketchup, but you better not do this before the contest because I wouldn't be operating during the contest. I certainly wouldn't be able to sit anymore.
You've got to be able to drink your Red Bull.
Uh-oh.
It's a 5 hour.
Oh, 5 hour. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Let's see.
that keeps me going. And it's the extra strong stuff, but not
Trying-
extra spicy.
Trying to find him a picture of. Yeah. Where's John?
Really, it's my back that gives me fits now for operating long periods.
Bill, don't worry about it.
Okay. Which one of you wants to know who he is?
That K0UM.
No, which one of you guys?
Oh, Mike in 5MT.
Oh, and okay, okay. As long as I know, I'll send it to you when I find it.
John, do you know that he has a 1010 number, 2 less than yours?
I know that. Yep, and he and I went to high school together. We got our calls not so far apart. There's another guy, 2617. We're all three of us got our numbers all together. We're all high school friends. But yeah, I know John real well. So.
And you buy the hot sauce in the US?
Oh yeah. Go out to heatonist.com. Heatonist. And that's where you buy that stuff.
Well, thank you, Bill. That's been really fascinating.
Well, you're very welcome. Next time I'll keep it shorter.
No, don't worry about it.
That was great.
But and remember, we do rent this out. So if any of you are interested in DXing, contesting, whatever it is, contact my wife and see if there isn't something open for you.
Sounds good.
Hey, Bill, it's Kim, K5TU. I inquired of you a couple of weeks ago about the station, and I got answers to some of the questions that have been in the back of my head tonight. So I appreciate the presentation.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you want to go out and look at the villa at any time, you can go out to our website, our villa website. It's it's a villagrandpiton.com.
Yeah, I've been through the website, and one of the things that kind of had me puzzled was I'd go to various websites like Kayak or even the airline sites, and they were all giving me 26, 28-hour kind of flight times because
No
the
way.
connecting flight into Miami was not synced up with the one going out. So now that I know how you do it, that's a little better.
Oh yeah. Yeah, don't let that scare you.
And Bill, you didn't mention that your little adventure being stuck down there during COVID.
Oh, yeah. After the, not last year, but the year before, after the contest, the ARRL contests in March, everybody went home, and including my wife, she left. And I stayed for a couple extra weeks, and they actually shut down the airport and the sea traffic in and out. So I was stuck on the island. They made everyone quarantine for a couple of weeks, and they didn't open the island up for 5 months. So I was stuck down there for 5 months.
How good is your internet connection down there?
Oh, it's excellent. Right now we've got 2 internet feeds from 2 different companies, so we really don't have much in the way of issues. I will say that I teach I teach at the University of Texas at their petroleum extension, and I was able to teach class from down there. I was supposed to be teaching classes. I was able to teach class from down there using Zoom. So,
Okay.
yeah. Well, anyway,
Okay, well,
you,
thank
Bill.
you all.
thank you very much.
Thanks a
Yeah,
lot. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks,
Really
guys.
good.
Bill, appreciate it. Good to see
Sure.
your face. This is
Yep.
actually the first time I guess I've seen your face. We
Sure.
talked on the phone a lot of times.
Okay.
I don't know if you've looked at the JK antennas up close, but I've got 4 of them on my tower. I love them.
Yeah, I actually have probably 24 of them up at my contest station up in St. Louis. They're just not on the tower. They're stuffed in the building.
Yeah.
But they are good antennas. Well designed.
I've got that big 4-element 40 at 125 feet. It's a laser.
Oh yeah, yeah, it would be. Yeah.